Hi there, welcome to Dr. 2 Academy. This is Java tutorial for beginners. Lesson number 9. The topic of this lesson is exceptions. When our program runs into an unexpected error, such as dividing a number by 0 or accessing an array element outside of its boundary, the program could crash. So to gracefully handle those unexpected errors, we need to catch those exceptions and handle it gracefully. So the exception is the error which caused the normal flow disrupted at the runtime. So it's a runtime error. We need to distinguish the runtime error with the syntax error. Syntax error is the error in our code which does not conform to this Java syntax requirement. It will be caught during our compiling time, but the runtime error is hard to detect. Sometimes, even with the debugger, we cannot detect the runtime error because it happened at some boundary conditions. When exception happened, the program is terminated abnormally by the operating systems. So to handle those exceptions, Java provided a set of keywords, try, catch, statement. We put the code could possibly have the exception into the try block, then catch. If it has the exception, it will be thrown, and the catch block will catch that exception. We'll handle that gracefully. It's a very good programming practice to handle those exceptions gracefully and ensure our program is a robust program, and ensure our Java code is robust and our program will not suddenly crash under any circumstances. Now let's double click eclipse.exe file to open the Eclipse. This is our project of our last lesson, lesson 08. Let's create a new project. New project. Java project. Click on next. Project name. Lesson 09. Click on next. Click on finish. Module name. com.dr2 academy.java tutorial lesson 09. Click on create. Right click on lesson 09. New class. Click on class. Package name. com.dr2 academy .java tutorial lesson 09. Name, class name is code tester. Click on finish. Let's create a main method. Public static void main stream args parentheses. Let's create an array. Temp 20, 30, 40, 50. Let's create a temp variable. Let's assign arrays variable for. So what this statement does is get the value of fifth element 50, assign it to temp. We know the index starts from 0, so 4 is the fifth element. Double click line 9 to put a breakpoint here. Click on debug button. Expand arrays. We can see the array element values. So we are going to retrieve the last element, 50. Assign the 50 to temp. Temp is 50, right? So no problem. But what if we made a mistake? Instead of 4, we forgot the index starts from 0. So we thought index starts from 1. So we put a 5 here. We thought we were going to retrieve the last array element, put it into temp. But actually, it is out of the boundary. So this line will throw an exception. Let's run it. Click on debug button. There. Stop right here. So step over, click on it. See the exception. So the program is terminated, but the program is not terminated normally. It throws an exception here, right? The exception says index 5 out of bounds for length 5. So how can we handle this gracefully? We can use the try catch. Try catch exception E system.out.println exception error. We want to display the exception error. So we can call the get message. Click on debug button. Step over. Now it catches the exception. This will print out the error message. So it prints out error message, index 5 out of bounds for length 5. So this is how we catch the runtime exception. We use try block and the catch. Sometimes we want part of our code to get executed, even if we have exception thrown at runtime. In this case, we can put the code in the finally block. System.out.println this code is executed even this code is always executed. Let's output. Let's write it. Let's put some message here. Assign to temp. Temp equals temp. System.out.println temp value is temp. Here you see the red line here. That means this temp is not initialized. Let's look at the error message. See, initialize variable. So what we can do is initialize temp to 0. Now this code will handle the exception gracefully. Let's click on debugger. Step over, exception, display the exception error. So after the exception is caught, it will get into the finally block. So this code is always executed, right? Now let's click next. It will show that temp value is 0. As you can see, use try catch finally. We can handle the exception gracefully. If we don't have exception, say change this to 4. Change it. Let's run the debugger. Next. So here we don't have exception, right? Erase 4 is the last element. It's 50, so we assign 50 to temp. Print out the temp is 50. It still get into the finally block. This code is always executed, right? This code is always executed from here. Temp value is 50. There. So if we put that to 9, we know it is out of its boundary. Click on debug button. Click on step over. Throws exception. It prints out exception error. Exception error. It tells you the length is 5. Now index is out of bounds. Get into the finally block. This code is always executed. Temp value is 0. So no more that red exception error, Now the program terminates gracefully. This is how we handle possible exceptions. Any block of codes which might throw an exception at the runtime, we put that into the try block, and then they use the catch keyword to catch the exception and handle the exceptions here. Here we just print out the error message. And we also use finally block to run the code, which should be run no matter we have the exception or not. So this is how we use try catch and finally block to handle possible exceptions at the runtime. Let's do a quick recap of what we just learned. So what is exception? When the normal flow of our program gets disrupted at the runtime, we call that an exception. Exception is a runtime error, so we need to distinguish runtime error versus syntax error. Syntax error is easy to spot, but runtime error is much harder to find. That's why we need to use the catch to handle the exception. We don't want our program to be terminated abnormally, so we always use the try-catch statement to prevent the abnormal termination. To gracefully handle the exception is a very important, good programming practice. In our next lesson, we are going to learn how to use the static keyword to create the static variables and the static methods and the static block. That's all for this lesson. I will see you next time. Bye.